All right, so I am here with Lexi. Lexi, today we are going to talk about some really common issues that a lot of people struggle with when they're playing golf, and that is better contact.
Yep.
So a lot of amateur golfers struggle with inconsistent contact, whether it's hitting behind the ball, whether they hit the ball really thin, it goes really low, they might top it. Any of those things sound familiar to you?
Oh yeah, I'm really good at hitting behind the ball, especially in the bunker.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to talk about a really simple, easy drill that you can practice that will help you with your contact, both in the fairway, in the rough, and potentially even in the bunker.
Awesome.
So,
sounds good.
We'll talk about a way to really make that a little bit more consistent for you and just help you create a more repeatable shot pattern.
Awesome, looking forward to it.
Cool.
Sure.
Okay, so when we're talking about contact, the biggest fault that we see with most amateur golfers is they don't move their hip sway towards the target enough in the downswing. So the best players in the world, their hips are really close to zero at the top of the backswing.
Okay.
And then as they continue to move towards impact, their hip sway just keeps moving more and more towards the target. And the tour average when a golfer hits the ball, so at impact, is 3.1 inches towards. What often happens for amateur golfers is their hips don't move towards the target enough. So in order to move the club up in the air and not smash the club into the ground, instead of keeping their elbows really close together, they start to flex and separate their elbows. They extend their lead wrist, and this can lead to not only contact issues, but also directional problems. So we're gonna talk about how to do those two things today.
Okay,
Seem
cool.
okay?
Yep.
So the first thing I want you to do, Lexi, go ahead and take your address position. We're gonna do this without a ball. So anytime you're practicing this stuff at home, you wanna make sure you're starting without a ball just so you can understand how to actually move correctly. So I love where you're at with your address position. What I want you to do now is bump your hips towards the target.
Okay.
So that'll give you this sensation of how your hip sway should move from the top of the swing all the way down to impact. So what I want you to do is almost preset your hips forward, okay? And then you're gonna make a really small swing going from about hip high to hip high and try to keep your elbows really, really close together. So almost imagine that you'd have something between the two joints of your elbows that you're squeezing really tight, and you're just gonna keep your hips pushed forward towards the target.
Okay.
So what you should see when you're doing this at home is it should create a really consistent pattern with where you're hitting the ground. You're basically hitting the ground in the exact same spot, and ideally that's gonna be slightly ahead of the golf ball. So once you've done that a few times, really just kind of practice that feel. Then what I want you to do is go ahead and introduce a golf ball. So you've done that really well. So now let's put a golf ball down, and I'll have you hit the same length of shot. So really just, again, chipping one out there, not trying to go super fast. So once you're ready, same thing, just push your hips towards the target, keep your elbows really close together, make some of those short swings. Awesome. And you can hear how crisp that contact was.
Yeah, that was perfect contact.
And so then what you would do is you just practice building up speed from there.
Okay.
And then ultimately you would remove that bump of your hips at the beginning.
Okay.
Just keep your hips where you would normally have them. And you try to just implement that movement in the downswing and into the follow through. So
Okay.
the main thought here is continue to push your hips towards the target and keep your elbows really close together. And that'd be a really good way to make sure you get really solid contact every single time.
Awesome.